Welcome to the reloading room in the Way to Native Chronicles, and today we're going to do a little demonstration of how to change lube stick and a lubricizer. Now, I'm not sure how many of you use lubricizers, and maybe some of you are contemplating getting one, but you're not sure of how they work. So what's happening here is I've just finished using up all the lube in this lubricizer. I've got the little wrench that comes with it, and I'm backing out the plug that compresses the lube in the lubricizer, and it's a very fine thread. So I'm going to turn and turn and turn on this thing, and what I'm looking for is there's a little metal plug on the top of the lubricizer, and that plug will start to rise as soon as the sealed plug underneath it begins to back up against it. So it's a matter of turning it in the right direction. You see here I'm pulling off that metal plug, and I'm going to put the wrench back on and keep on turning. And next, little plunger with O-rings around it. It's going to start rising up, so I've just got to grip it with my fingers so it doesn't turn with the bolt stud, and off that comes. So I lay that down, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a new lube stick. You can refer to another video I made on how to make your own lube. What I've done in this case, I've mixed Alux 350 with beeswax, 50-50 mix. You can see the video describing how to do that elsewhere on this channel. And basically what I've done is I've made my own little molds, very simple to do with PVC pipe. And I've cast my own lube sticks. So these things, they fit just absolutely perfect in a lubricizer. And my wife has very well wrapped these things up in wax paper for me, so it's always nice and fresh. Really nice having a huge supply of lube on hand, because it's not always the easiest reloading item to buy in a store, depending on where you live. So it's actually quite nice to make up a big batch for yourself. So you can see I just dropped that lube stick, and it's got the hole through it already. And now I'm turning the crank the opposite direction. So I'm going to turn down that little plug with the O-rings on it till it goes low enough, and now I can drop that metal plug using having the concave side facing up and the flat side facing down on top. And it's just a matter of turning and turning and turning this thing until I get a little pressure on that lube stick. This is kind of thing you do by feel. As soon as I start feeling a little bit of resistance, I'm going to put a bullet in there and into the sizing die and give it some more pressure. I don't want to overdo it, so I just look, okay, the lube rings got a little bit of lube in them, but I can tell I'm still going to need some more. So I'll give another check. One thing about it, when you put a new lube stick in a lubricizer, you've probably been lubing some bullets right before that, and the stiffness on the crank that you use to apply pressure there, like that, it's usually pretty solid when it increases in pressure a lot when you turn it. But when you've got a brand new lube stick in there, there's a pretty big column of lube underneath the pressure plug. So it's actually quite a different feel. It's more cushy, kind of spongy. So you got a softer crush on the lube. Just something to be aware of when you're adjusting your lubricizer pressure after changing a new lube stick. So I just kind of proceed carefully. After I lubricate a bullet, I just wipe the base. And now we're going to move on to a phase where I change the H&I dye. What I was doing in the previous segment was I was lubricating 44 caliber bullets. So I'm taking that 44 caliber bullet out. And let's see, we're going to need a wrench, and we're going to need some dyes. I have my dyes kept in old lube stick containers that I purchased in the past, and I cut them in half and replaced the little lid on them. Here you can see I'm removing the dye, but I almost forgot. Before you do that, back off the pressure on that lube reservoir, because otherwise when you take that dye out, you're going to have lube oozing all over the place, and it's a real mess. When you're changing the sizing dye for another bullet, one thing to be aware of is that depending on the bullet, you may have to change the depths that it goes down. I won't cover that in this one. These two bullets I'm use the same depth to get the lube rings filled. I'm just placing that wrench on edge underneath, and then lifting the handle to get the old sizer out of the die body. Put it in this little container, and I'm going to grab a .358 die for lubricate some bullets for 121 grain 38 caliber bullet. So I'm pressing the new die into that nut, and to get it level I press it right against the table, then I put it in the die body here and press it down real good, and then when I go to screw it down, I'm going to give it a little bit of a back turn like this. Just make sure I get those threads started in there, right? Because these are very fine threads on that little nut that goes into the lubricizer. So you really don't want to cross thread them. If you feel any weird resistance, and I mean just a little, just back off and start over again rather than cross threading the body of your lubricizer. This is a step you have to be very careful with. But I can tell I've got it set in the right, and it takes about 9 half turns to get that nut seated all the way in. And again, this is fine thread, so there's no need to tighten that thing way down. Now the next thing I'm going to need is a new top punch, because the shape of the bullet nose on the next bullet is going to be different. So I got my little assortment of top punches on that rack. Notice everything I have here is all within arm's reach, and I'm holding that lever with my forehead. Yes, that's the best way. Get that little Allen wrench in there, and I'm going to loosen off the old top punch for the 44 cal and put in the new one for the 38 caliber bullet, and just tighten it. Not much. This is something you don't want to over tighten it. Just got to hold that nose punch in place so it doesn't fall out. So now we've got the new nose punch in the lubricizer, and I've got the new die, and I put a bullet in there, and with this the lube pressure backed off, I'm gonna retighten. Now this bullet that I'm sizing now is just got one lube ring, and it doesn't take nearly as much as these 421 429, I forget the name of the die bullet, but the Elmer Keith bullets that I was lubricating before. These little bullets just take a tiny bit of pressure, so what I always strive for is just to get it to the very minimum and operate at a minimum lubricant pressure, because if you go too far, then you get a wad of grease lube accumulating underneath the bullets. You just want to keep it to the minimum. How you keep it to a minimum is kind of an art in a way. Because I've got my right pressure right now, and with each bullet I'm just giving the compression handle a slight turn each time, just a little bit. And I keep on going like that. Sometimes I'll just let it, I'll size a bullet without turning it, like I did just now, just to see if the rings are still filling out. And I might just do that until I see a little bit of gap of lube in the bullet, and then I'll know what I'm at my minimum pressure, and then I can start again with little increments of pressure each time. See, like this. So now I'm going back. So that's basically how you do it. It's nice and relaxing.